All eyes are on Syria at this hour. American warships already in place awaiting President Obama's order. But first, Congress is debating whether to give the president the green light. Meanwhile, former Congressman Allen West has a warning for Congress. He joins us. Good evening, sir.
Good evening. How are you doing, Greta?
Very well. So what's your warning for Congress as they consider the president's request for authorization?
Well, I would look at this and first say, why did the president not go to Congress when he went into Libya? Why has the president bypassed Congress on so many other domestic policy affairs? And he has actually made it a very contentious relationship between the executive branch and Congress. Now, all of a sudden, at the final hour after John Kerry came out and gave his speech, he's decided that he's going to go to Congress. But still, he's saying that, you know, I will retain the right and the authority to go in and attack anyhow. So is this just stagecraft? Is this just trying to get additional cover from the United States Congress? I don't think it's very sincere. If the president was serious about doing this, he would have done it. And he would have gone before the American people and explained that we cannot tolerate chemical weapons being used anywhere in the world against any people. And that's why I decided to take this action, and I take full responsibility. But when I look at what happened in Libya and the second and third order effects to the point where we lost an ambassador, Sean Smith, Ty Woods, Glenn Doherty, nothing has been done, no response whatsoever, no one held accountable. And now in Libya, Al-Qaeda and the Muslim Brotherhood are training fighters to go where? To go to Syria. So I think that's the concern that the president has.
You know, it's sort of, the one thing that's sort of peculiar is that, I mean, the president's obviously on a plane right now headed to Stockholm, and he's going to be meeting with, I imagine, it'll be interesting when he sees Vladimir Putin at some point during this. Will be an interesting exchange, if any. But you had Secretary Kerry coming out on, I think it was on Friday. On Friday with his speech, and very forceful. And then we had sort of this weird sort of thing with the president sort of sitting around a table. It was a tape thing, and he was saying things. And then it seems almost like now it's been a little bit outsourced, this whole big decision, to Secretary Kerry and Secretary Hagel. Maybe that's the way it's supposed to be done, to go to Capitol Hill. But then you have Senator Rand Paul trying to get the two secretaries and the general to say, if we say no, is no, no, and so it looks like, and none of the three had the authority to say that. So it looks like even if Congress does say no, the president's going to do it anyway. Yeah,
and that's the point. And that's why I believe that this is just a cover, and the Congress is being used as a scapegoat to, you know, look, I've done this because Congress has given me approval. If I were there, I would vote no, because I do not see the strategic, the operational, or the tactical objective in doing this. We keep talking about something that's limited, a pinprick. We're going to just punish Bashar al-Assad.
Is there some value in punishing him? Does it send a message to Iran, to Hezbollah, and other parts of the world?
If you want to send a message to Iran and Hezbollah and the rest of the world, you send the message to Iran and Hezbollah. I'll give you a great case in point from history. Second Punic War between Carthage and Rome. When Rome could not defeat, Hannibal, who was there in Italy, what did they do? They launched against their satellite colonies in Spain, and then they launched an attack against Carthage, which drew Hannibal out of Rome, and then they defeated him there in Carthage. That's what we have to do. Look at who are the real people that are sponsoring and supporting Bashar al-Assad and go after them. What the president should have done, which would have been true leadership and strategic vision, we should have left a residual force in Iraq instead of zeroing out our presence. And now we don't have anything that stops Iran's transiting through Iraq to go in and help Assad. If we had left some type of force along the border with Iraq and Syria, that would have been a deterrent.
Well, we're all going to be watching what goes on here. There's more debate tomorrow on this resolution that they're working on. But we want to ask you about another topic. It's about a court case. It's actually sort of interesting. An atheist couple says the phrase "under God" violates student rights. The couple wants to remove it from the Pledge of Allegiance in a Massachusetts school district. And a Massachusetts judge rejected the case last year, ruling that "under God" does not convert the exercise into prayer, and that kids can choose not to say the prayer. And tomorrow, the Massachusetts Supreme Court takes the case. Congressman West, should "under God" be removed from the pledge under any circumstance?
No, absolutely not. I do not think it should be. And again, it's not something that we're forcing people to say. I find it very interesting that this case is being brought up in Massachusetts, which was really the birthplace of our revolution, where the men of Concord and Lexington stood up against, the greatest power that the world knew at that time, and that was the British Empire. But if we want to remove "under God" from the Pledge of Allegiance, then shall we take "in God we trust" away? I mean, let's remove that as our national motto. Let's take it off of our money. Let's look at the fact that Thomas Jefferson said that our unalienable rights come from a creator. Maybe that's offensive. Let's also look at the fact that they owe their divine providence to be able to stand up and create the United States of America. Faith has played an important part in this country.
You know what I think is peculiar about this case, and maybe it's just my background, is that the plaintiff in the case, the ones who are seeking to have it removed from the Pledge of Allegiance, those terms, they filed it anonymously.
Yes.
And the court allowed this to be anonymous. That's the one. This is a gripe I always have, like with journalism, always relying on anonymous sources. And I always say that, you know, in court, you know, you identify yourself, you take the witness stand, you say your name, you get tested. And here, for the life of me, I can't figure out why in Massachusetts you can file a lawsuit anonymously.
Yeah, it's very hard to understand. But again, it's this march of quote-unquote separation against church and state. And when you ask people to show in the founding documents where that is, it's not in the Declaration, it's not in the Constitution, it's not in the Federalist Papers. It's just a people that believes that they should separate any type of faith, any type of belief from the United States of America, when it played an important part in the early writings of the Founding Fathers. What Thomas Jefferson, when he wrote the letter to the Danbury Baptist Convention saying that we should not have a head of state who is also the head of church, that's what he meant. And that's why we created the First Amendment that says you have the free exercise of religion. But we don't have state-sponsored religion here in the United States of America. So I don't understand what this couple's gripe is about, and I think it's much ado about nothing.
Well, the lower court agreed with you, and of course the Massachusetts Supreme Court will hear tomorrow. One quick question before we go. When do you think that you know, there could be a strike in Syria? Want to wager that one?
If it's going to happen, it would be after a vote with the House and the Senate. I believe that the president is going to wait for that. He's drawn himself into a very, very tight box, and so he has to at least wait until the vote's been taken in the House and Senate. And
of course, that won't happen until at least, I mean, he won't happen while he's out of the country, so that's the next couple of days. And they're not back yet from vacation. Don't get me started on that one.
One of the things that the Taliban would say in Afghanistan, you may have the watches, but we have the time.
Nice to see you, sir.
Always a pleasure.